An Iranian supertanker loses propulsion in the narrowest point of Bab el-Mandeb Strait. 330 meters of steel blocking a choke point 29 kilometers wide. Accident or strategy? Within 12 hours, 67 ships queue behind the disabled vessel. Every hour the tanker remains stationary costs the global economy $400 million. Tugboats arrive but cannot move the ship. Engineers report mechanical failure too complex to repair at sea. The blockage continues. Sea Doctrine reveals why one ship can paralyze international commerce and what happens when oil becomes a weapon deployed in narrow straits. The VLCC Hormuz Legacy reports complete engine failure at 06:18 a.m. local time. Position: the narrowest navigable channel of Bab el-Mandeb. The vessel was traveling northbound at standard speed. No prior mechanical issues reported. Maintenance records show all systems operational. But now the ship is dead in the water, 330 meters long, 60 meters wide, carrying 2.1 million barrels of crude oil. Displacement 320,000 tons. This is not a vessel that drifts. This is a floating island that blocks everything behind it. Maritime Traffic Control immediately declares the channel restricted. Southbound traffic can still pass on the western side of the strait, but northbound vessels face a blocked corridor. The queue begins forming within minutes. Container ships, bulk carriers, oil tankers, LNG vessels. They anchor in the Gulf of Aden, waiting for the Hormuz Legacy to move. The wait time estimate 6 hours for tugboat arrival, then another 4 hours to establish tow, then slow transit out of the narrow channel, 10 hours minimum. That is the official estimate. Sea Doctrine examines why the estimate is wrong. Tugboats arrive from Djibouti at 12:40 p.m. local time. 4 ocean-going tugs with combined pulling power of 80,000 horsepower, enough to move any vessel. Tow lines are established. Tugs position themselves. Pull begins. The Hormuz Legacy does not move. Engineers report the tanker's rudder is jammed in a position that creates maximum water resistance. The propeller is locked. The ship's mass creates enormous friction against the water. Even 80,000 horsepower cannot overcome basic physics when the vessel is configured to resist movement. Tug operators request additional assets. Navigation authorities calculate that moving the Hormuz Legacy will require 12 tugs working in coordinated sequence. 12 tugs do not exist in the immediate area. Assembling sufficient towing capacity will take 36 hours. The queue behind the tanker now includes 67 vessels. Combined cargo value, $14.3 billion. Daily operating costs for the stranded fleet, $18 million. Every hour adds economic damage. But the bigger problem is what is not arriving. Oil that should reach European refineries in 5 days is stuck behind a broken tanker. Manufacturing plants dependent on just-in-time delivery face production delays. Container ships with perishable cargo watch food supplies spoil. The global supply chain is a tightly synchronized system. One blockage creates cascade failures across continents. One tanker, one strait, 12% of global trade. Would you risk depending on this route? The Hormuz Legacy belongs to National Iranian Tanker Company. The vessel operates under Iranian flag. It departed from Karg Island Terminal 6 days ago. Destination declared as Mediterranean ports. Nothing unusual about the route. Iran exports oil through the Red Sea corridor regularly, but the timing raises questions. The tanker broke down at the exact point of maximum disruption, not in open water where vessels could navigate around it, not in wide sections of the strait where multiple channels exist, at the narrowest choke point where one ship can block an entire traffic lane. Naval intelligence analysts calculate the probability. Random mechanical failure at this specific location, 0.03%. Deliberate positioning to create maximum blockage, 97%. The numbers suggest this is not an accident. This is tanker diplomacy, using commercial vessels as strategic weapons. Sea Doctrine examines the precedent. In 2021, the container ship Ever Given blocked the Suez Canal for 6 days. That incident was confirmed accidental, high winds and navigation error, but it demonstrated how vulnerable choke points are to single vessel blockages. The economic impact was catastrophic. 400 ships delayed, $9 billion per day in trade disrupted. The lesson was clear. You do not need vessels to close a choke point. You need one large ship in the right position. Iran observed the Ever Given incident. Every nation with interests in choke point warfare observed it. The tactical opportunity became obvious. If you can position a vessel to block critical straits, you achieve strategic effects without firing weapons. No act of war, no military engagement, just a mechanical failure that happens to paralyze international commerce. Deniable, legal, devastating. The Hormuz Legacy blockage follows the same playbook. Engineers aboard the tanker report the mechanical failures are extensive. Engine control systems are damaged. Hydraulic systems for rudder control are non-functional. Electrical power distribution is compromised. Repairs at sea are impossible. The ship must be towed to dry dock for proper assessment and repair. The nearest suitable facility is 1,100 nautical miles away. Transport time with tug escort, 9 days. 9 days during which the Hormuz Legacy might remain partially blocking the strait. 9 days during which shipping must reroute or wait. 9 days of economic hemorrhage. Diplomatic channels activate immediately. The United States contacts Iran through Swiss intermediaries. The message is clear. Move the tanker or face consequences. Iran responds that this is a civilian maritime incident. No military involvement. The ship suffered legitimate mechanical failure. Iran is cooperating fully with international maritime authorities. Tugboats have been dispatched. Repairs are being attempted. There is no basis for threats. The diplomatic response is technically correct and strategically useless. Whether the blockage is accidental or deliberate, the effect is identical. The strait is blocked. Commerce is disrupted. Economic damage accumulates. Legal options are limited. You cannot seize a disabled civilian vessel without cause. You cannot forcibly move a ship that claims mechanical failure. Maritime law protects vessels in distress. Iran knows this. The Hormuz Legacy is legally protected while it sits in the channel, creating $400 million of damage per hour. Who controls this sea? A. U.S. and allies. B. Regional powers. C. No one. Naval forces in the region monitor the situation. The U.S. Fifth Fleet has destroyers in the area. European naval vessels are conducting counter-piracy operations nearby. But warships cannot solve this problem. You cannot shoot a disabled tanker. You cannot torpedo a civilian vessel claiming mechanical distress. Naval power is irrelevant when the weapon is a broken ship in a narrow channel. This is asymmetric warfare at its most elegant. Iran achieves strategic effect without deploying military assets. No missiles launched, no ships attacked, just one tanker with mechanical problems. The global economy takes the hit. Trade routes are disrupted. Political pressure builds, and Iran maintains complete deniability. Sea Doctrine shows you the future of choke point warfare. Why risk military confrontation when you can achieve the same results with a well-timed breakdown? Insurance markets react within hours. Underwriters reassess risk for Red Sea transit. If one tanker can block Bab el-Mandeb for days, the probability of future incidents increases. Premiums rise 43%. Some policies are suspended pending clarification. of whether tanker blockages are covered under force majeure clauses. The insurance industry is pricing in a new reality. Choke points are vulnerable not just to military action, but to civilian vessels used as strategic tools. Shipping companies conduct emergency meetings. If the Red Sea can be blocked by single-vessel incidents, alternative routes become necessary. Routing around Africa adds 3 weeks and enormous fuel costs, but predictability has value. The Cape of Good Hope cannot be blocked by one tanker. The risk calculation is shifting. Consistent slow delivery via secure routes may be preferable to faster transit through vulnerable choke points. Some companies begin permanently rerouting their fleets. The Hormuz Legacy achieves its strategic objective even if it moves tomorrow. It demonstrated vulnerability. It proved the concept. It showed every nation with maritime interests that choke points can be closed without military action. The demonstration is complete. Naval planners update threat assessments immediately. Choke point security now includes monitoring civilian vessel traffic for potential blockage scenarios. Large tankers and container ships become threats if they position improperly. New protocols are developed. Vessels showing signs of mechanical trouble near critical straits must be escorted out immediately. Preventive towing if necessary. Accept the diplomatic friction. The alternative is another Hormuz Legacy. But what happened inside the shipping corridor shocked commanders. While attention focused on the blocked tanker satellite imagery detects unusual activity in other parts of the strait, 3 additional large vessels report minor mechanical issues, none severe enough to require stoppage, but all occurring in positions that would create additional navigation hazards if the ships lost power completely. The pattern suggests coordination. If 4 large vessels blocked different sections of Bab el-Mandeb simultaneously, the strait would be completely impassable. No amount of tugboats could clear it in less than a week. The blockage could be total. This reveals a more sophisticated strategy. The Hormuz Legacy is a demonstration, a proof of concept, a message that says we can do this. But the real capability is multiple simultaneous blockages, shutting down the choke point entirely, closing the Red Sea to all northbound traffic. That capability now exists. Naval intelligence confirms Iran has positioned vessels throughout strategic waterways, the Strait of Hormuz, the Bab el-Mandeb, the Suez Canal approaches. Each location has Iranian-flagged tankers conducting normal commercial operations. Each tanker could develop mechanical problems at the worst possible position. Each breakdown could be timed to create maximum disruption. The fleet is in place. The tactic is proven. The threat is operational. Red Sea Doctrine examines the counter-strategies. You can ban Iranian vessels from certain zones. But maritime law makes this difficult without evidence of hostile intent. Mechanical failures are not hostile acts. You can require inspections of all large vessels before they enter critical straits. But inspection capacity does not exist. Thousands of ships transit monthly. Inspecting all of them would create delays worse than blockages. You can develop rapid response tug fleets positioned near every choke point, but tugs cannot move ships configured to resist towing. The Hormuz Legacy proved that. You can threaten retaliation, but against what target? Iran claims no responsibility. The tanker company maintains this was accident. Where do you strike when the weapon is deniability? None of the counter-strategies are effective. That is why tanker diplomacy works. It exploits gaps in international maritime law. It weaponizes civilian infrastructure. It achieves strategic effects below the threshold of military response. 36 hours after the initial breakdown, 12 tugboats finally assemble. Coordinated pulling begins. The Hormuz Legacy slowly moves, inch by inch, meter by meter. After 4 hours of continuous towing, the tanker clears the narrowest section of the strait. Northbound traffic can resume. The queue begins moving. 67 ships start their delayed transits. Economic damage is calculated at $28.8 billion. Delays, spoiled cargo, rerouted vessels, insurance claims, lost productivity. One tanker breakdown cost more than most military operations. Red Sea Doctrine asks the critical question: if this was a test, what does the actual attack look like? The Hormuz Legacy demonstrated single-vessel blockage, proved the concept, showed the economic damage, but coordinated multi-vessel blockage would be catastrophic. 4 ships blocking Bab el-Mandeb, 3 ships blocking Hormuz, 2 ships blocking Suez. Execute simultaneously. Global oil trade stops. Container shipping grinds to halt. Economic damage reaches trillions within a week. That scenario is now proven feasible. Iran has the vessels. Iran has demonstrated the tactic. Iran has shown the world that military power cannot prevent this. The only question is when they choose to execute at scale. Is this the start of a wider naval war? Comment Y or N. Diplomatic fallout continues for weeks. Accusations and denials, investigations and reports. But nothing changes the fundamental reality. Choke points are vulnerable to civilian vessels used as weapons. No treaty can prevent this. No naval force can deter this. No international law covers this scenario adequately. The gap in maritime security has been exposed. Tanker diplomacy is now a recognized tactic. Red Sea Doctrine predicts proliferation. Every regional power with choke point interests observed the Hormuz Legacy incident. Every nation controlling critical straits now understands the potential. China could use this tactic in Malacca, Russia in Danish Straits, Turkey in Bosphorus, Venezuela in Panama Canal approaches. The weapon is universal. The requirements are minimal. One large ship, one narrow channel, one mechanical failure at the right moment. Global trade takes the damage. The era of secure choke points is over. What breaks next? Trade, diplomacy, or deterrence? Will shipping permanently reroute to avoid vulnerable choke points, or can maritime security adapt to this threat? Can international law be updated to address civilian vessels used as strategic weapons, or will tanker diplomacy become standard practice? Subscribe to Red Sea Doctrine, where sea power decides everything.